Doing this will destroy your transmission. At least that's what they say. Not long ago, I changed the transmission fluid in my '95 Suburban. No, I didn't just change the fluid, I completely flushed it. And can you guess what happened afterward? If you guessed that I completely destroyed my transmission, then you're wrong. My 1995 GMC Suburban has the 4L60E in it. It's 24 years old and has 78,000 original miles. The fluid in the transmission, as far as I could tell, was completely original. So I did what anyone else would do, and I flushed it. I completely flushed all of the old fluid out of the system and replaced it with brand new stuff. And let me tell you, that thing has never driven or shifted this good ever. So I decided to do the same thing to my 2003 Suburban you see behind me. And yeah, well, let me show you what I did. First, I popped the hood and put up some adequate light so I could see. Then I located the transmission cooler return line coming out of the top of the passenger side of the radiator. And if you pull back the little black plastic ring, you'll reveal that tiny little metal clip that holds that hard line into the fitting. Now, this clip. Hold on to that clip for dear life. The second that sucker even starts to come out, it'll fly across the room, never to be seen again. Mine popped out, and luckily I was able to find it down in the radiator drain pan. Whew. That was close. Now that that clip is out, I can remove the hard line. Just pull it straight back and have a rag handy to catch the few drips. Now I'm going to replace that hard line with my clear vinyl line and run it all the way down into the drain pan. Now I'm not exactly sure on the size of vinyl tubing I used here. I had a few on hand, but you should be able to get a good idea just by looking at it. With the vinyl line in place and fed all the way down into the drain bucket, I can now start the engine. Before I do that, I want to say, this is not for the faint of heart. What I'm doing is running the engine, thereby running the pump in the tranny and pumping all of the transmission fluid out through our vinyl line into the drain bucket. I do this until I see bubbles. The moment I see those bubbles, I shut the engine off. So here I go. I start her up and immediately check that line to make sure nothing came loose and there's no leaks. Then I can just watch that old, crusty, brown fluid pump its way out and into the drain pan. And at the first sign of bubbles, I'll shut her down. Now I can check the drain bucket for the amount of fluid I just pumped out, which was 4 quarts, and I'll replace a little more than that. I'll be using this Valvoline Max Life fully synthetic automatic transmission fluid that is rated for Dexron 3. If we take a look at the drain bucket and that clear vinyl line, we can see just how dirty and disgusting this old fluid was. It's terrible. All right, so I've replaced the fluid with brand new stuff, and I'm gonna repeat this process. By doing this again, I can watch that clear vinyl line for bright red brand new fluid. Once that happens, I know that all of the old fluid is gone and the only thing left is the brand new fluid. And of course, the moment I see bubbles, I'm shutting her down. All right, at this point, I've flushed out all of the old fluid and replaced it with brand new. We can see the bucket is full and that clear line now has bright red fluid running through it. Now comes the hard part. After I replaced my original transmission hard line back into the fitting and carefully replaced that clip, I can climb under the truck. Now on this 2003 4L60E, I have what's called a deep pan. On my 95, I had a shallow pan. There is a difference in filters, so I was sure to order the correct one. The first thing I'm gonna do here is loosen the 16 pan bolts. I did try to loosen that drain plug, but I just about stripped it, so I'm just gonna drop the pan. The pan still has a little fluid left in it, so I'll completely remove the bolts while keeping pressure on it with one hand. Once all the bolts are removed, I'm gonna slowly drop it down with my head out of the way so I don't take a bath. And what I found at this point is that pan will not fully drop due to the position of the exhaust. But I was able to drop it enough to not only pull out and change the filter, but also soak up the rest of the fluid inside, wipe it clean, clean that magnet, and get a torque wrench in there to torque all of the valve body bolts back up to 96 inch-pounds. Once that was all done, I left the original gasket on the pan, bolted it back up, and torqued all the bolts to 15 foot-pounds. Now, I did read multiple torque specs online. Some said 9 foot-pounds and some said 18. So because I was reusing the original gasket, I decided on a nice round number of 15 foot-pounds. Okay, so all that's left is to refill the tranny with bright red brand new fluid, take it on a drive, and see if I destroyed it. Noting how much I pumped out on the second go around, which was 6 quarts, I'll start with that. Now, I will need to add a little more than that due to what was left in the pan and filter and maybe having low fluid to begin with. Well, let's hit the road. All right, guys, well, here we are in car, and I have to say this thing is up to temperature. Everything is shifting phenomenally well. When I first bought this truck, it was having a hard shift into second gear. I don't really know why. I'm only assuming that it was because the fluid was really old. I checked the fluid level multiple times to make sure that it was always good, and it always was. But I did note that it was a little dirty. So I wanted to flush it. I wanted to get all the old crusty fluid out of this 4L60E and replace it with brand new fluid. So I just did that, and I have to say it is shifting phenomenally well. And best of all, there is no more hard shift into second. It's buttery smooth. Now, I know there's a school of thought out there that says basically to never ever flush your transmission ever if you have a vehicle as old as mine. I gotta say, guys, I've done it twice now on both of my Suburbans. My older Suburban is 24 years old and was never changed. Both of them are now shifting buttery smooth, better than they ever have. So I guess for me, I've had great results doing this. I can't speak for everyone in every transmission. I know sometimes people will flush their transmission fluid when they're already having problems with their transmission, and that's not the case for me. I'm doing it as a preventative maintenance, and so far, so good. All right, guys, well, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you got something out of it. If you did, please do me a favor and hit that thumbs up. Also, subscribe if you're not already. My name is Jimmy. This channel is One Road, and I will see you in the next one. Okay, so Ferris, what do you think?
It's shifting great. Feels great. Wife approved.
Well, there you go, guys. It is wife approved. And is it daughter approved?
It's daughter approved.
Daughter approved. All right, guys.